I woke up to the sound of a broom sweeping my bedroom floor. The problem was, I live alone. I thought maybe I was dreaming. My eyes were half open, my head heavy with sleep. The sound was soft, slow shay, 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 moving across the floor from one side of the room to the other. The moonlight was slipping through a small gap in my curtain, painting a thin silver line across the floor. And in that line, I could see the shadow of a broom handle moving. Back and forth, back and forth. My heart was pounding. My mouth felt dry. Something inside me screamed, "Don't move. Don't breathe." Then, the sweeping stopped. Silence. Not normal silence, the kind that presses on your ears, like the air itself is listening. The broom was standing upright in the middle of the floor, not leaning, not held, just standing there. Nobody was touching it. I swallowed hard. My mind was racing. Maybe someone broke in. But how? My doors were locked. My windows too. I reached under my pillow for my phone. I keep it there at night, but it wasn't there. That's when I saw it. My phone was on the floor, lying right next to the broom's bristles. I couldn't understand. How did it get there? And then, low, deep, heavy breathing fades in, out, in, out. It wasn't mine. The sound was coming from the darkest corner of my room, the one the moonlight didn't reach. I wanted to scream, but my throat felt tight. My whole body was locked in place. The broom started sweeping again. But it wasn't gathering dust, it was pushing something toward me. I leaned forward just enough to see. At first it was just a lump of shadow sliding along the floor, but then it crossed into the moonlight. A hand. Small, pale, severed. I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood, just to stop myself from making a sound. The broom stopped right in front of my bed. The hand twitched once, and then a voice, deep, slow and wet, like every word was dragged out of a grave. "One more sweep, and you're mine." That broke me. I jumped out of bed and ran to the door. Grabbed the handle, it was locked. I never lock my bedroom door. I banged on it. Screamed for help. No one came. Behind me, the broom scraped the floor again. Faster this time. The breathing grew louder. I turned back. From the corner, something rose. Tall. Thin. No face. Its skin, if you could call it that, was the colour of old wood, stretched tight over bones that were far too long. Its fingers were wrapped around the broom handle. No, not wrapped. They were part of it. Like the broom grew out of its hand. It stepped closer. Each step made the floor creak like the house was groaning in pain. I pressed myself against the door, fumbling with the lock. Shay, shay, shay. The broom moved one last time. The moment it stopped, the ground beneath my feet gave way. I fell not onto the floor below, not onto dirt or wood, but into pure, freezing air. A wind that stank of mold and earth swallowed me. I screamed, but the sound vanished, eaten by the dark. My body kept falling. I tried to grab at something, anything, but the walls, if there were walls, were smooth and wet. I could hear the sweeping above me, getting fainter, until it stopped completely. And then, silence again. I thought I was dead, but when I opened my eyes, I was standing in a place where the air was made of dust, and everyone was sweeping. The last thing I remembered was the floor opening under me, the freezing wind swallowing me. When I stopped falling, I was lying on ground so soft my fingers sank into it like powder. It wasn't dirt. It was dust. Grey. Endless. I coughed. The air burned my throat. My eyes stung. When I looked up, my stomach dropped. I wasn't alone. They were everywhere. Dozens of them. Men, women, children, all barefoot, all sweeping the ground with old wooden brooms. But they weren't sweeping to clean. They were sweeping nothing. Over and over. The same patch. The same motion. Shesh, shesh, head. Their heads never lifted. Their eyes, I swear they had no eyes. just pale, smooth skin where eyes should be. Then I saw him. The sweeper. Tall. Thin. His faceless head turning slowly, like he could still see everything. In his hand, or maybe his hand was the same broom. The bristles left trails in the dust that seemed to twitch, like something alive was under it. Every few minutes, he'd walk to one of the sweepers. If they slowed down, he'd sweep through them and their bodies would crumble into dust, joining the ground. I didn't know what to do. My legs were shaking. But then, someone grabbed my arm. It was a woman. Her skin was grey. Her lips were cracked. She whispered, her voice dry as sand, "Don't stop sweeping. Ever. Don't look up when he passes. And don't ask where the dust comes from." Before I could speak, she shoved a broom into my hands. I didn't want to, but the moment my broom touched the ground, something strange happened. My arms moved on their own, back and forth, back and forth. It was hypnotic. The more I swept, the more my mind started to drift. Like I could forget I was trapped here, like it was easier to just keep sweeping. I almost lost track of time until a scream tore through the air. A boy had stopped sweeping, just for a second. The sweeper appeared in front of him without a sound. One sweep, 2, 3, on the third sweep, the ground under the boy opened and swallowed him whole. The dust swallowed the space he stood in, leaving no trace. Everyone else kept sweeping. No one reacted. Hours or maybe days passed. I lost track. Sometimes I'd hear whispers from the dust under my broom, voices, crying, pleading. One of them whispered my name. When I glanced down, I saw a face in the dust, pale, screaming silently before the bristles scattered it apart. That's when I decided I had to get out. The woman who'd given me the broom noticed. She whispered again, "There's a way." But it's worse than staying. Before I could ask, the sweeper passed near me. I kept sweeping, my head low, but out of the corner of my eye I saw a shape in the distance. A door, half buried in the dust. When the sweeper turned away, I dropped my broom and ran. The ground felt like it was pulling at my legs. The sweeping sound behind me grew faster, louder. I reached the door. My hands clawed at the dust, digging it out. My fingers bled. Just as I pulled it open, a cold wind slammed into my back. I didn't look back. I jumped through. Now, I'm in my bedroom again, but the floor under my bed feels softer than it used to, and at night, I still hear it. "You still owe me," I hear him say sometimes. I thought I escaped him. But you can't run from a debt, especially when the debt is your soul. After I jumped through that buried door in the dust world, I woke up in my bedroom. It looked exactly the same. Same bed, same curtains, same moonlight through the window. But the air, it felt heavier. And the floor under my feet, softer than it should be. I told myself it was over. That I was safe. But 3 nights later, at exactly midnight, the sweeping came back. This time, I didn't hide under the blanket. I sat up, and there sitting on my bed was an old man. His back was bent. His eyes were clouded white. He was holding a broom, the same kind. Old, wooden, bristles black with dust. He didn't sweep. He just stared at me and said, "You broke the rule. Now you owe him." I didn't understand. He told me a story about a servant who died sweeping at night for a cruel master, punished for spilling dust into food. When he died, his spirit became the night sweeper, collecting dust and souls from anyone who sweeps after dark. The man leaned closer. His breath was cold. Once he marks you, he takes you to his floor. But if you escape, your debt remains, and it must be paid. I asked how to pay. The man smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. 3 choices, he said. Return willingly to the dust. Give him another in your place. Or sweep for him in the living world. until you've gathered enough dust to balance the scales. I told him I wouldn't sacrifice anyone. He laughed a dry, broken sound. They all say that at first. But when your hands start turning to dust, when your voice starts whispering his name in your sleep, you will change your mind. And then he was gone. The broom was lying on my bed where he'd been sitting. The next morning, I woke to find a pile of dust in the corner of my room. I cleaned it up without thinking, using the broom. That night, the sweeper's voice came in my dreams. Good. Keep sweeping. One more, and you're mine. When I woke, there was more dust, twice as much. Every day after that, the dust kept appearing. Every night, his voice grew louder. Sometimes I'd hear him breathing in the hallway. Sometimes I'd see pale hands pushing dust under my door. My skin started flaking. Not like dryness, like ash. The man's words echoed in my head. Give him another, or become the dust yourself. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in my apartment, broom in hand, staring at the dust on the floor. My hands shook. All I had to do was sweep it towards someone else's door, past the debt. But every time I thought about it, I remembered the boy in the dust world, swallowed whole. I couldn't do it. Last night, the floor under my bed started sinking again. The broom is in my hand now. I can hear the sweeping getting closer. And I think tonight I'm going back to pay my debt. The end.